What is up, Autocons and Deceptibots? Deceptibot 9 here, and what's the deal with Minibots anyway, am I right? No, of course, I kid. But, in reality, what is the deal with Minibots? And if you don't know what Minibots are, Minibots was a term that originated all the way back in G1, and it was just to classify certain types of Autobots. The main ones being Bumblebee and Huffer, Pipes, Warpath, Sea Spray, Cosmos, those types of characters, right? The little ones that have like a two-step transformation and are smaller overall. And we've seen lots of different versions and lots of different interpretations of those characters over the years. And they've been displayed in many different size classes. Obviously, we've seen them evolve into the Legends class, which is kind of where they stayed for a long while. The Legends class. Scout class had a couple dabs at those characters when Scout class was still a thing. Deluxe class tackled a couple of them every once in a while, depending on design. And Deluxe class is where we're sitting today. And that's what I want to talk about today. Because one of the most controversial things I think to have come out of Generations War for Cybertron trilogy is the way they've handled certain Minibot characters in the Deluxe class. They're smaller figures by nature. And they're still charging Deluxe class pricing. And that, for some people, causes an issue. And I can understand why. But I think the figures themselves are made well enough and are painted well enough, just like any other Deluxe class, that I think they warrant being a Deluxe class. And I personally think that this trend should continue. There's lots of characters, Minibots that we haven't seen made in this type of style yet. Obviously, my personal favorites being Power Glide and Sea Spray and Cosmos. We already got Warpath, who we're going to talk about today, so that's great. And into Legacy, I would love to see this trend continue. I personally am a huge fan of the way they've handled Minibots in the Deluxe class scale. Do I think they should be Deluxe class? Who knows, you know? It's hard to tell these days. I just like the figures overall, right? I think the figures are great. If they were $15 rather than $22, would I be more happy? Absolutely. But these figures are still, you're getting a great value for them overall, even at the price point, right? Sure, they're not as big as some other Deluxes, but sometimes they make other Deluxes bigger to accommodate that, like Hoist. The Hoist and Trailbreaker mold was a large Deluxe, and the Ironhide mold was a large Deluxe. So sometimes scale is going to vary within the class, and that's something that we've seen throughout the ages as well. And today what we're going to do is going to be kind of similar to my Starscream Showdown video. I'm going to just kind of talk about these figures. We're going to look at them in both modes. We're going to look at the transformation to them. And we're going to be looking at the three core ones that I have right now, because I'm pretty sure this is all the main ones of individual molds, right? There's been lots. I have almost all of them. I don't have Hubcap. I don't have the Bumblebee from the Worlds Collide set. I don't have Pipes yet, as he is not out, nor do I have the Road Rage and Puffer set, as they are also not out as well. So today we're going to be looking at Cliffjumper, mainly because he's the one that started this whole thing, plus Netflix, Bumblebee, and Bug Bite for comparison reasons, and Warpath and Huffer. So without further ado, let's get right into that.
Sorry guys, but it kind of looked like a Decepticon.
All right, starting off, the one who started this Deluxe class Minibot trend and is probably the most controversial of them all, Cliffjumper. And I'm so glad that they made Cliffjumper into his own dedicated figure before they made him into Bumblebee. Whether they had Bumblebee in mind first, obviously, I'm sure they did. I'm glad we saw Cliffjumper out of it first. And for as much flack as this guy in this mold gets, I absolutely adore this mold. Like I said, I don't have Hubcap or Bumblebee from Worlds Collide. Hubcap is one that I am intending to get eventually because I like the way he looks. But I love what they did with Cliffjumper. And sure, there is a little bit of parts forming. We're going to get to that, obviously, with transformation. I don't mind. I really don't mind. I think it fits the transformation well, and I think it's a great simplification, modernized version of the Masterpiece Bumblebee mold, the original Masterpiece Bumblebee mold. I think it turned out really, really neat, and I love the way Cliffjumper looks here in vehicle mode. I love the vehicle mode choice. I love the way the red looks. The only thing that does bother me about this parts forming bit on Cliffjumper is that these windows are translucent blue, but that happens to be a solid black. And I know it's to, make a shield look, but whatever. I wish it would have been blue. So he looks nice. And like I said, we are going to do a little bit of comparing. So the other two versions of this mold that I have are Generations Select Bug Bite, who I think looks absolutely incredible. Sure, he would have been better as the V-dub version, but I think he comes off quite well in the white in the Cliffjumper mold regardless. He's got a sweet mercenary symbol on top. The purple looks fantastic, obviously, with this guy. So I think Bug Bite works really, really well, and he turned out phenomenal. And of course, we can't talk about this mold without probably my personal favorite version of this mold, that being the Netflix Bumblebee. I'm so happy I was able to find this guy. I'm so happy they made this guy, because this is incredible. Probably the best modern version of a G1 Bumblebee that you are going to be able to get unless you're going the Masterpiece route. Like I mentioned in my Bumblebee Origins video, that's probably my current favorite modern Bumblebee adaptation figure. But if you're looking like for straight G1, you cannot go wrong with this guy. I love that they were able to retool him into a Volkswagen Bug, and he looks absolutely phenomenal. See, they translucent windowed his. Why couldn't they do it for Cliffjumper? Before we get into transformation for Cliffjumper, the one thing I do want to address is that compared to the other Minibot molds that they have made, he does come in a little bit on the small side. And so I can definitely understand why some people were upset with how Cliffjumper cost a deluxe class price point, because he is quite small. To show you, one of the guys we're going to look at later is Warpath, obviously. And Warpath and Cliffjumper in terms of size, see, they're lengthwise they're about the same. Height-wise, there's a lot more going on with Warpath, obviously. And, I mean, they still look great together, but Warpath definitely feels more like a true deluxe, quote-unquote, if I can use that term, because Cliffjumper is a little tiny. And even compared to Huffer, Huffer does come in a little taller. And, of course, since he's a truck, he's going to come in a little taller both ways as well. So they managed to fix the size thing a little bit for the other Minibot molds. Cliffjumper just comes in small. Alright, so into the transformation. I'm only going to show Cliffjumper specifically for transformation because Bug Bite and Bumblebee are exactly identical to Cliffjumper, so I don't need to show you all three of them. We're just going to do Cliffjumpers, and I'll convert the other two and we'll still compare. So this is where also I think Cliffjumper really shines here is the transformation into robot mode. They were able to adapt Masterpiece Bumblebee so well into a smaller price point that I don't even think you need Masterpiece Bumblebee, the original Masterpiece Bumblebee anymore, especially after getting Netflix Bumblebee. I don't have very many Masterpieces. I have Masterpiece Movie Bumblebee, the Camaro one, and the Volkswagen one, the first one, I think it's MP21. And I considered selling MP21 after I got Netflix Bumblebee because there's no need for it anymore. Alright, now we've got the Cliffjumper mold all converted into robot mode. And I mean, I love it. I absolutely love it. He looks so good. I love the way Cliffjumper looks here in robot mode. And yes, he is very, very small, right? Obviously. But that's just kind of the thing with Bumblebee and Cliffjumper is I feel like they've always been especially smaller than even the other Minibots overall. They're meant to be tiny, and sure, paying a deluxe price for some of these guys will be a little difficult for some, but I don't have a problem with it because I love this mold so much. I think it's so fun. There he is all the way around. You can, of course, use this back piece. It can untab from the back, and he still looks really nice. I still really like the way that looks. You can use it as a shield. I prefer to just kind of have it there on the back as a little extra backpack piece. that's Cliffjumper. I think he looks really, really nice. Going to the Gen Select version here is Bug Bite, and that white looks so good. He looks great in robot mode as well. I love the mercenary symbol on his chest. I love the red eyes. They use the Bumblebee head for this guy instead of a Cliffjumper head or a new head. He looks amazing. I love the way Bug Bite looks. This is a great Generation Select figure. It's a great callback, of course, to the GoBots as well. He looks really, really nice. And of course, again, my personal favorite though is the Netflix Bumblebee with the Volkswagen. The parts looks so nice. He looks great. Sure, the yellow color is a little bit odd. It's not exactly the right color, but I still think this is the best modern version, G1 version of Bumblebee you can go out and get. The Worlds Collide one doesn't look too bad. I wish it had stripes on it to kind of make a little more Camaro-esque, but I think that mold looks all right. We'll see if I end up picking up that set. I've kind of waned up and down on interest of it overall, but that's Bumblebee. And here's all three of the mold mates that I have together. Of course, like I said, I am missing Hubcap in the Worlds Collide Bumblebee. I would like to add Hubcap soon. But that's those three. And yes, we did vehicle mode comparisons to the other two Minibots. We're going to do robot mode comparisons all in the end, but I do know the Bumblebee mold, or the Cliffjumper mold, comes in a little bit smaller than the other two. So with that said, let's move on to the next one.
Dinobots, huh? I thought you were supposed to make dinosaurs.
Alright, the next well, he wasn't the next Minibot chronologically, but the next Minibot we're going to look at right now is from Kingdom Wave 2, that being Huffer. I was so excited when they announced a new version of Huffer. Huffer's been one of those characters that I've always kind of liked and always kind of enjoyed, but he's never going to land in my top 10 personal favorite of characters. I don't know, I just always really liked Huffer. I really like the colors, I like the orange, and I like the blue going with him as well. And this is a great modern adaptation, modern update, and I can't wait for Pipes. Pipes looks so cool. And yes, here he is in his beautiful truck mode as well. He looks great. And of course, he does have these accessories on him as well that if you take off, he has pegs on the back so he can carry Optimus Prime's trailer. And that's about all you need from a Huffer minifigure. And like we saw, he is bigger a little bit than the Cliffjumper mold, so some people might feel a little more justified as to grabbing this guy at a $20 price point. I think he's worth it. I 100% think this is worth it. And I really like this mold a whole lot. I have so much fun transforming this guy back and forth. I really can't wait for Pipes. I can't wait for Road Rage and Puffer. I think those two look great as well. And overall, Huffer just looks fantastic. And since we compared him to the Bumblebee mold already, let's see what he looks like next to Warpath. Alright, so here he is next to Warpath. We can see a little bit, they're about the same height right there. Going down front to front. Warpath is a little bit bigger overall. And in terms of stacking like this, yeah, Warpath is a little bit taller. So in vehicle mode, at least, Warpath is the one seeming the most deluxe size. He is the biggest, and of course we'll get to him in a minute. But for right now, let's get into Huffer's transformation. When I first saw product pictures of Huffer's transformation, I wasn't quite sure how they were going to make it work, and when getting it in hand, it is really simple. It's a very, very simple transformation, but for a character like Huffer, I think it's effective at doing what it needs to do. I think, honestly, Cliffjumper's transformation is very simple, but I think the Huffer transformation is way more simple. Because just like that, we are already done with transformation. But look at this guy. He's so good looking. He's so good looking. I love the way Huffer came out. This guy and Warpath are the main reasons that I want them to continue making deluxe class Minibot figures, because I would love a Cosmos and a Power Glide and a Sea Spray and a Brawn at this scale with this much detail and that much, effort put into the transformation. And as simple as it may be, it's fun. It's super fun to do back and forth all the time. And I really hope we get to keep seeing some Minibots at this scale, because I love Huffer so much. This is one of the best Kingdom figures that has been released for sure in my eyes. And I'm one of those guys, if you watch my videos about Hotshot and Galaxy Upgrade Optimus Prime, you know that I'm kind of wanting Hasbro to shy away from a little bit more of the G1 stuff, because I want to be seeing more from across, you know, the generations, so like the toy line says. But I can't help it when it comes to some of these Minibots, man, because these are so goddamn awesome, and I love them so much. I have very little negatives to say about Huffer, and we'll get to Warpath here in a second. I have even less negatives to say about Warpath. But man, I just cannot get enough of these Minibots, and I really want them to keep doing them like this.
Yeah! All right, knights, let's go blam zinger!
All right, that takes us to our third and final Minibot of the day. That being, he's one of my favorite Transformer characters of all time. It's Warpath. I love whenever they make a new Warpath. I love getting my hands on it. This guy is awesome. This guy is so, so cool. When I first saw pictures of him, I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to beat out that old generation's mold from 2011, because that thing is fantastic. And that mold is an expertly done way to modernize and update a Minibot mold for the current generation. But then this guy came along, and oh man, this guy rocks. This guy's incredible. He looks fantastic here in tank mode. I love the red. I love the white. He looks all complete here because of the shield piece that holds him, or that sits right there in place. And man, I love Warpath. Warpath came out in the first wave of Kingdom, and he is easily my favorite figure of the deluxe class of Wave 1 of Kingdom. I can never get enough of this guy. I love this guy so, so much. Now let's go ahead and get into transformation for Warpath. When we talk about transformation for Warpath and how to modernize and update the Minibots, this is what I'm talking about. This is one of the coolest transformations I think I've seen on a deluxe class figure in a while. And sure, there's others that have come out there, and I'm sure you guys are going to say there's ones that are better than this. I love the way they handled this transformation. I love the way the feet fold up and around to go from the bigger looking tank mode to the legs, where they still hold, you know, a lot of tank treads in the feet. Of course, they retain the head flipping out of the turret and the turret pushing in. I don't know what it is about this. I love the way they handled this transformation. I love the way they handled this figure. Alright, and we've landed Warpath in robot mode, and just look at this guy. He is so awesome. He looks fantastic in robot mode. He's got the tread sticking off of him, which is very accurate to the cartoon and the toy, and he's got the big old tank feet, which again is accurate to the cartoon and the toy. The thing I like about these some of these modern G1 figures is I really like that they try to get that cartoon accuracy rather than like updating the toy per se, right? I love that this figure is super accurate to the cartoon, because those original toys sometimes just are not accurate to the cartoon, and that's not a problem. That's obviously something that came as part of production. And so getting figures like this that are like, yeah, this is what was on screen is super, super cool. And Warpath is incredible. I love this guy so much. I am a little bit biased because Warpath is one of my favorites, but I can't get enough of Warpath. If you have not yet gotten Warpath and Huffer, I absolutely recommend it. Now back to the original thesis of this video, right? What's the deal with the Minibots? Well, we've kind of come to a consensus, at least I have, that Cliffjumper and his mold mates are great figures, and they were a good experiment into dipping your toes into Minibots into deluxe class scale. But what they lack is a little bit of size and a little bit of ingenuity with transformation, obviously. A lot of what they did in that transformation for that mold has already been done before. Now it's just simplified and scaled down. Whereas Warpath and Huffer, theirs are a little more unique. I don't want to say unique because Obviously, we've seen transformations like Huffers before. It's very standard, but the way they handled it is a whole lot of fun. And, I mean, Cliffjumpers is a lot of fun, too. But, at the end of the day, I want to see more figures like this. More of these Minibots. Look at these two. They look so good together. They're about the same size, roughly, right? They look nice. Okay, I want to see more Minibots done like these two. These two are some of the best outings that Kingdom has had to offer, and I cannot get enough of these two guys. But of course, let's compare them to Cliffjumper. Yeah, look at that. That size difference is pretty glaring. Cliffjumper is about a whole head and a half smaller than Warpath. Yeah, about the same with Huffer. He's about a whole head and a half smaller. So definitely understand the complaints about the Cliffjumper mold. And honestly, in comparison to Huffer and Warpath, they don't really hold a candle in terms of whether they should be deluxe class figures or not. They definitely should have tried to go with a different scale class for the Cliffjumper mold. But I think Huffer and Warpath are super worthy of being deluxe class figures. And like I've said this entire video, Hasbro, please make Power Glide and Sea Spray and Cosmos at least into this deluxe class Minibot scale upcoming in the next series. Please, please, please. I need updated figures like that to go along with these guys so I can have a super cool modern Minibots shelf going on. That's all I've got for you guys today. I just kind of wanted to talk about these figures because I do really enjoy all of them. And I know that the Minibots being at deluxe class scale has been a little bit of a talking point for some people. And so go ahead and let me know down in the comments below what you guys think about the Minibots. Do you like them all? Do you think some of them should be cheaper? Do you think they should stay at deluxe price point? Do you want to see any more Minibots updated in this current modern scale? Go ahead and let me know all that down in the comments below. Autocons, Deceptibots, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all next time.